Hi there, thanks for checking out one of our videos here. This is going to be possibly a repair video on this unit. This is an old Bulldozer, model 4309A. It's made back in the 70s. Looks really good. The note on it just has the customer's name, address, phone number, but there's no notes about what was wrong with it or anything. So we're gonna plug it in, see what it does. I don't know. Looks really good. I don't even know if this thing's ever been used. I don't know. Let's plug it in here. This is like the second one I've got. The last one I got came with two other units that weren't as old, and the guy had bought this at a state sale or something like that, but not this particular customer, a different customer. This one's from a guy out of state. The other one was a guy who was local. So let's plug it in. Turn the power strip on. What should do, this light should come on solid, and every time the unit clicks, this light should flash. Alright, so it's coming on, but not clicking. So now what do we got to do? We got to get it apart. So I'm going to tear into this thing and see what we can figure out with it. So it's been sitting, who knows, this thing's 40, 50 years old. So if it hadn't been used, I'm sure some stuff's gotten stale and went bad just from sitting. So we're going to tear into this thing and see what we can figure out. There's some information for you that you can send us a email or call or text. Send me a unit to work on all brands and ages of these things, so I don't care what it is, we'll tinker on it if I can. Alright, so the thing I got to do first, I got to get these rivets off, and these are that's I think the biggest pain is getting it apart. What we do when we go to put it back together is we use a small, self-tapping screw type to get in there. Parmak still did use rivets on their units, but it was basically reversed, so you could drill them right out pretty easily, or you could take a cold stone chisel, a thin one, and a hammer, small sledge, and put it between this here and bust them out. But these are not Parmak, and they're what they used back in the day. That one popped right open real easily. That's nice. Usually they fight you. Come on. There's two. Come on, get off there. You can tell I drilled out a few rivets with this drill bit. It's got some leftovers on there. Come on. Alright, so now it should hopefully just pull. Oh, it'll pull real nice. Alright, well there's the inside guts of what it looks like. Looks pretty nice. I mean, yeah, it's old, but looks pretty good. It is getting power to that first light, but it is not pulsing or clicking. So these patches could be a problem. Some of these some of them had a big capacitor underneath, but I don't feel it. So some of them had a big one underneath as well as these ones on top, or maybe it was just this big one was on the flip side. So one thing I like to do, because I don't get these old ones in that often, so every time I work on one I got to kind of halfway retrain myself. But what I like to do is I like to mark the positive and negative of the capacitors. So I just put a positive down here, negative up here, because these do have a polarity to them. So I know that which way to put a new capacitor in. And I don't want to take this board all off because you have to undo these bolts, you have to undo these bolts, and it's just a real pain. So what I do is I just cut the capacitor. Well, I'm going to cut one leg of it. I'm going to cut it kind of long, cut it right in the middle. So that way I can test it out of circuit. If I need to put it back together, I can solder it. I can put a piece of wire there and wrap it around and solder the whole thing. But let's check this capacitor and see if it's any good. It says it's a 100 microfarad capacitor. So this is the positive side, it says. Negative over here. 111, so that's way kind of out of specs, but it's not terrible. Cut that one out. This one's a 50. Yeah, it's a 50. Uh-oh, there might be our culprit right there. Try it again, make sure we're not getting some. So maybe that's our problem. Let me go dig around for a minute, see if I got another one. It may look a little different, but it's gonna be the same rating basically. So let me go look around here, my little stock of stuff. All right, got this one here, and it's the same microfarads. It's just a little bit higher voltage, so which ain't gonna hurt anything. And it does have a polarity to it as well. It's a little bit physically bigger, different kind of style, but it'll work just fine. So let's go ahead and cut this flush off here, so that way there's at least some wire sticking out. Sometimes you see these capacitors will have like they'll be either swelled up or they'll be leaking some crusty crap coming out of them. Neither one of these have that crustiness to them. So see the positives going to go like this, like that. Back this up just a little bit. Let me get some solder. Solder and iron. That'd be nice. This is it, because everything else looks pretty good. I'm sure these resistors might be a little off their tolerance and stuff like that, but I mean, there's a lot of them there to fool with. Let's just try this first and see what happens, and then we can always go through a little bit more if we need to. So this is, start off simple and then work your way to the harder stuff to mess around with. So I'm just going to tend the leads on this a little bit. And then tend this one here, since it is kind of sticking out more. The other one I think we'll be able to solder straight to it. Alright, positives. Positives down here. So we'll solder this one, fuse these two together. Let it harden up. And then we'll do the same thing over here. Yeah, I'm going to add a little solder to that one. Cool off and harden up. Alright, and now we got to put these two back together. We may have to add a little wire in there to join them. See how it does. checking to make sure everything's nice and tight. Alright. Well, kind of halfway close the lid on it. Let me dump the little pieces of old rivets out. Oop. Lid caught the edge of the case of my phone camera. Alright, let's halfway close this lid. Turn the light off so we can get there's no glares. Plug it in, flip the switch. There it goes. Clicking and flashing. The camera's not always picking up the flash, but it is flashing every single time. Let's put a screwdriver across it, see if it goes to sparking. We've also put a fence tester across there and see what kind of voltage we get out of it. Yeah, these aren't, I mean, they're not like low impedance units, like, you know, they'll knock you on your butt, like a 5 joule unit, something like that would. But they'll get you. You know, they're designed for certain situations. Let's power it back on. Watch how much volts we get out of it. Getting about 8.5 kV out of it, which is plenty. These are old solid state units. They're not low impedance, so they don't have, not rated in joules. And you might say, oh, you know, people, you see some old solid state stuff that says like 15 or 20 miles on there. Man, you gotta be really watchful of that, those mileage ratings on even the ones built today that rate their stuff in mileage and stuff like that. That mileage rating is a marketing thing, more or less. But that's a single strand of high tensile wire. That's clean. There's no grass on it all. Perfect insulators, you know, perfect fence setup, perfect ground system, stuff like that. Now, if I had one of these, I would use it like around a garden, around like say a couple acres of fence. Maybe it was clean of grass. I mean, it says shocks through wet weeds, but you know, these things, the longer the mileage, you know, the distance you're pushing with one of these, the longer it is. Well, the more grass on this thing's, the weaker it gets, the further out it goes. So you got to be real mindful of how much fence you're actually running with one of these old ones. Because back in the day when this was being sold, people were still using barbed wire and panel fencing. You know, electric fence was just pretty much, you know, newer. Wasn't really, I mean, it was around, but wasn't like mainstream like it is now, where people can run, you know, 500 acres on a one fence charger sort of thing. So now, let me shake it, make sure no more crap on the inside. Okay, sounds good. So we're going to go ahead and put some short little screws in there. So if it ever needs to be worked on again or taken apart, we can get back into it a little easier. Alright. Yeah, nice cheap fix for a good old school unit. Alright, well that's it for this one. I'm going to plug it up, let it run for a while, but typically these things, you know, they'll work or they don't. They're not really intermittent. So, thanks for checking out our video here. And you know, if you've got any questions or comments, or you want to get a hold of us, you know, write me down below, or back to the beginning of the video. There's my cards up there where you can see my information, but there's also links in the description that take you to my websites and email address and stuff like that. So we do give free quotes on these repair, you know, anything that comes into us for repair. We work on all ages these same. I mean, this thing's 45, 55 years old as of today, this 2021. So got another unit going again, saved it from the scrap heap. And it looks real nice. I mean, this would be, if you're into collecting old stuff, this would be, you know, a real nice cosmetic unit to look at, because it's pretty clean. I wish the camera would pick up the light every time. It doesn't, not picking it up every time, but it is flashing every time it clicks. Alright, well, until next time, we'll see you guys later on, and have a good day.